welcome back to the State Farm Analyst Zone, where Supermassive just picked up their 4th win over Pentagram. Unfortunately, this also means that Pentagram is now out of the tournament, out of contention for that first place. We will, of course, see them on stage 2 more times to pick up some wins, hopefully, for the Japanese squad, but they're out of contention for #1. And Supermassive, they won, but they went even with Pentagram until 15 minutes. Pentagram had some fight in them.
I like what Pentagram was doing in the sense really early on. They understood some of the mistakes they were making, specifically the bottom lane, and they were taking a step back. It felt like throughout the tournament they were learning a few lessons.
Yeah, I love that Yutori backed up and they said, okay, our jungler's not on this side. Let's just play at our tier 2 turret, make sure they can't get anything from us. I think that once kind of played it a little bit to the global instead of playing to his bottom lane, which is one of the things that I think kind of cost them later because they gave up that first turret. I think Supermassive kind of forced their hand with the Shen ultimate and teleport, but they got the better of it. I think they were in a position to potentially win that game, but really Supermassive, the mid lane siege followed by the Baron was kind of just what broke the game open. That's the macro play that you're talking about from these teams that are at the top of the emerging regions.
I guess when you give something over to Supermassive, they are so good at taking it, and as we see, taking that Baron and then immediately pushing out the game and closing it out. Pentagram stood in their base and tried to hold them back, but in the end it didn't work out.
3 inhibitors at the same damn time. It was hilarious to watch just because, of course, the 2 banner command minions were coming through, and it's like, I don't know how they stopped them.
Yeah, it was weird because it was like the team fighting I thought would be potentially better from the side of the LJL, but they're so scared to face check a Shen, a Leona, an Elise, and it seemed like nobody was stepping up being like, you know, I volunteer as tribute, I will face check the bush, it's okay. Nobody did that, and so they got the Baron, and that led to that huge fiasco where nobody wanted to pull the trigger, and when they did kind of pull the trigger, it seemed very like lackluster and hesitant.
Yes, because once the Rakan went through, you have to look towards the follow-up. It can't just be the Rakan, he's going to get blown up, and so this is obviously footage that they're going to have to look through when they go back to their own region, because when you force a team fight, your team got to be behind.
Not just to their own region, they still have 2 games left to play, so hopefully they can pull out some wins, but we are going to focus in on the next game of the day, OPL's Dire Wolves versus the CBLOL's KaBuM. Well, the Dire Wolves, they came into the tournament with the intention of improving on their previous international record, and they did. They actually had a very good showing on day 1. They ended up 2-1, and they bounced back from an early loss.
Yeah, mental fortitude. We haven't seen this from an OPL squad. Remember, Chiefs, any team that comes through, Legacy as well, they usually start incredibly solid on day 1, and then things start to fall through. This time around, Dire Wolves saying, hey, actually, start off on the wrong foot, and they're starting to claw their way back into it.
And this is where we see it. They were destroyed after that first loss, but they picked themselves back up.
I saw that, and I was like, okay, I guess they're just going to be out of the tournament, watching King so kind of distraught because of that. But the OPL, for one of the first times internationally, have bounced back off of starting off on the wrong foot, and that's what's impressive to me, because I knew these boys as tilt lords, right? And then they even kind of focused less on individuals and more on team when they made the 2 changes they did with Destiny and Fantix being removed from the roster and then bringing in these 2 other guys. So now they're focused on that mental resilience. Their performance coaches in there to help Shernfire bounce back, and it seems like King also did.
And in the mid lane, Triple, we heard from the team as well that Triple is untiltable. He really is a haven of tranquility mentally, but also on the Rift, he performed, he brought the mechanics.
And you can see it within their play when they are far behind. The swaps that come through, and on Triple, the solid rock in the mid lane with his Zoe pick, Leah that I would love to see going into today. There's so much that they can utilize. I remember Triple in the interview was talking about his synergy with Shernfire is on point. I want to see how that 2v2 works out in their favor.
And I want to see what Triple does in terms of being aggressive, because I love that Cassiopeia play where he flashed. That is taking onus and saying, I'm going to make a play. If it doesn't work out, I'm not going to tilt off the face of the planet. If it does work out, I win my team the game. And just like we saw with the LJL, you need people who step up in those moments and will take responsibility for the play.
And the Dire Wolves need to keep it going if they want to continue on. And usually it is the OPL that plays spoiler to the CBLOL, because the CBLOL usually does a bit better than the OPL. But this time around, KaBuM, the CBLOL representatives, they aren't doing too hot. After day won. They are the CBLOL champions. They are kind of the unexpected champions coming out of the CBLOL, beating out some real superstars. And this is their first appearance since 2014 as an organization. But also these players are pretty new to the professional competitive international scene. So they had a slow start, 1 and 2 coming into today.
Yeah, they're learning a few lessons about falling behind. These are lessons that Dire Wolves obviously learned, and they're really punching back. But KaBuM have been known as the early game team, having solid early game leads 20 minutes into the game. But suddenly, if they're falling behind, they don't know how to come back into the games.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that came down to the draft. And also something that's kind of unfortunate is they played 3 blue side games, and I think blue side is better for AD carry focused teams. I think Titan is very good, but Zantins is pretty much their early game lead. Back during the regular season, he averaged up a CSD of 15 at 15 minutes, and then everybody else on the team has like +1. So he was obliterating the competition, giving him carries and allowing him to kind of take over in counter matchups is great. He's going to have 3 red side games today, so he doesn't have to blind pick his top laner, and that's what I'm expecting is them to play there.
Yeah, here we can see that he is definitely suffering at MSI CSD-wise, even though he's getting a lot of attention from the jungler, so that is giving us a bit of an indication as to where KaBuM will want to focus their attention in this game.
Exactly. It's a change in play style that they would not have wanted to see. The fact that their Zantins is getting a lot more tanks in the top side, and sure, playing towards Titan is not bad necessarily. The first game that they played was actually excellent from his end with the Caitlyn pick, but he is much more comfortable in a team fight setting. Get him out of the laning phase. He is phenomenal in team fights. And then the early game should just be top side focused. So KaBuM, now on that red side, I would love to see them back to their old style.
Well, despite them dropping 2 games on day 1, they do have dyNquedo, as you say. They do have Titan. They do have Zantins. They have options. It's all about them feeling more confident and feeling more confident to play towards those options.
Yeah, in this game in particular, though, like Raz was saying, I think the top side is really where you do want to focus. Like back when they played Chiefs 2 days ago, they almost beat that top lane up from the Gnar blind pick into the counter pick Aurelia. They were almost able to just shut it down. They just kind of botched a turret dive. And so Chippys wasn't really looking on point. His Camille games weren't very good. His E's were kind of all over the place. So that's where I expect them to really focus.
Ruthless, Ari.
Well, I mean, I feel like the dagger's in. You just got to twist it a little bit and twist it effectively.
Yeah, okay. I like that. I like that attitude. But in any case, where do we think the action is going to lie? We talked about the top lane. After that, what's the priority? What can be the most influential lane for Dire Wolves versus this KaBuM?
I want to say mid lane. I want to say that because we saw the Zoe picks coming through from Triple, and dyNquedo has already shown that he's willing to pick the LeBlanc within it. So if he picks the LeBlanc matchup, if Ranger has an eye on the lane, then he can center that value, or at least the early game lead that they have there, and go towards the top lane matchup. So I'd love to see a 1-3-1 composition. I'm not necessarily saying go out and pick the LeBlanc, but pick a champion that works very well for dyNquedo.
It feels like we have a lot to look out for. It is an entire day of play we had ahead of us, and they had a day to prepare. So these teams could come with completely different strategies. And on that, I want to ask you, who do you think after a day of rest, after a day of regrouping, will take this game?
I'm leaning towards Dire Wolves. I think the Dire Wolves, you know, they showed that they have that mental fortitude. And Shernfire, even Gambit Gaming's jungler Diamond Proc said Shernfire is a monster in scrims.
He's on Shernfire.
And one of the biggest things is transitioning somebody who's a monster in scrims to being a monster on stage. Shernfire hadn't been able to do it internationally, but that's what performance coach is all about, having them kind of just have that consistency in their mental game.
Dire Wolves vote?
I would have to say Dire Wolves as well for the exact same reason.
Nice.
There we go. Boom.
All right, 2 times for the Dire Wolves. Let's see who can come out swinging. And let's send it over to a couple of Tim Tams to bring us into game 2.
Thank you, Shocks. Turns out I'm the OG and he's the double shock Tim Tam, but both are very, very good.
I'm Tim as well. You're Tam. There's no way I'm Tam.
All right, well, Tam's coming up on the blue side. It's the stars from the OPL, Dire Wolves. In the top lane, it is Chippys. In the jungle, Shernfire. Mid lane, Triple, AD Carry King, support Cupcake, and their coach, Sharp.
And of course, challenging them on the red side, it is KaBuM. In the top lane, you'll see Zantins. In the jungle, Ranger. In the mid lane, dyNquedo, AD Carry Chitan, support Riyev, and their coach, Nuddle.
Well, we'll see how this game transpires, but we got 2 votes on the analyst desk for the Dire Puppies, who are trying to grow up pretty quickly in the tournament into the Dire Wolves.
Yeah.
And you have to know, Rusty, we've experienced this many times.
Oh no, here
When
we
the
go.
pain in Oceania starts to pile in, that's usually when they collapse the most. So we are going to have to see if they can win this game, which should be very winnable for them, given the style they played in their last encounter. But if they don't, this is going to give themselves more trouble than it's worth, with Supermassive looking so strong.
They definitely have shown some mental fortitude, Dire Wolves. I'll give them that. So coming into this game, they should be prepared. The strategies should be set, but the same thing should go for the other side right now. KaBuM, their backs are against the wall. They've seen one team get eliminated already. They've decided perhaps that it's not going to be them today as the second to follow. Now they need to show something new for themselves as well. The last time these teams faced each other, it was early game strategies. It was a bit of innovation from both respective teams, for the Dire Wolves through the draft and for KaBuM through their early game map rotations. And that was unfortunately just awry completely from the side of KaBuM. They messed it up. It was tragic. They were mapped. They were bested when it came to the punch as well. They're coming into this one, I expect perhaps a draft focus from KaBuM. They need to just really reassess what are their opponents going to be picking this time, and is it going to be as crazy as the likes of the Aurelia Zoe style compositions?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely hit some maybe somewhat unexpected picks, we'll have to say, potentially. Did do well in the early game, but Dire Wolves held on and then really played their composition well through the early and mid game to kind of get the game out of their hands. I think in general, KaBuM have come here with a pretty solid style, but have just been struggling to execute the same way they could domestically. I mean, Ranger, great to gank his soul laners. I really rate dyNquedo as a mid laner, and Zantins has done really nicely in the top as well, but getting it all to kind of happen when the opponents do change quality by quite a bit, moving on to International, it's going to be tough for any team.
I think what's curious to me is that Zantins has been playing well, right? So has Ranger, and so have they as a duo, but they can't keep playing as a duo towards the top side of the map. That's just the way that I see this tournament so far. Lots of focus has been shifting from the mid lane to the bottom lane as well. That seems to be the focal point for everything. And if you keep going top lane while everyone else is going bottom, it seems like they just get more than you.
Yeah, domestically, I mean, both the duos actually in the bot side for these teams have looked very good. Titan and his support Riyev have looked great in their league, of course, with their big 5-game final. And another 5-game final with King and Cupcake, one of the newer members of the Dire Wolves. I mean, have not looked that hot. Certainly not in the form that they've shown off in back home in Oceania. So I think everyone, as expected, is looking to step up here on the final day of this stage of the play-in. And again, with both these teams playing certainly for their tournament lives in different ways, important to pick up a win. You only get one shot, as it turns out.
And we saw the adaptations already in our first game of the day. They had a day to reset, to think about it, to come up with some ideas, come into today fresh and ready to show something new. And we'll have to explore both of these teams as we do get to that draft. But for the first game, we already saw a completely cleaned up showing from Pentagram on the LJL side. And that may be something that gets reciprocated here as well. There's a very high chance that things get cleaned up. The weakness is completely gone.
Understandably, I think it's really interesting to think about champs. Like in any tournament, the metagame will evolve naturally as the people see more picks from different teams and play more scrims and get more practice in. I think the first game really demonstrated, very clean, very standard drafts in a lot of ways. And to me, the Dire Wolves won the last game, not solely through draft, but very much by having a very specific comp and executing well. So do they have another curveball kind of draft against KaBuM?
Yeah.
Or do both teams kind of draft standard and we play from there? We're going to find out soon, Rusty, because Champ Select is about to start.
And it doesn't need to be abstract champions. It was just about countering in certain positions. Shernfire always needs to have control of the jungle. If he loses control, Dire Wolves tend to just lose the game, but they draft for him to have that. It's very hard to counteract that fact. But KaBuM are on red side. They have got a possibility of countering and picking a winning top laner for Zantins. They could also try and set themselves up to succeed through the jungle role.
Well, we'll see. Ezreal actually banned away from Chitan and Morgana going to join. So 2 strong bot laners taken away and certainly comfort for Chitan as well. Brom's going to be another bot-focused ban. As the trend continues on the other side, with Rakan kind of expectedly banned away, Kai'Sa also kind of on those red side must bans at this point.
And I will say that Caitlyn, whilst we could look at that as a champion of choice, there is a Jinx running around as the potential counter. You know that King's one of the players that will be looking towards that as an option. Chitan, rather, has also got a bunch of AD carries that he can play in the scaling sense, so I don't actually expect the Caitlyn ban. Of course, it isn't going to be seen. I more wonder about, will the Caitlyn ever get picked?
Especially now with Trundle kind of being taken away. What's the go? I thought about it. I actually thought maybe KaBuM would ban it, but Alistar first pick, so much faith in Cupcake, who in this exact matchup went off on the champion.
And we saw the Braum banned by Dire Wolves, so perhaps an indicator that the Alistar would get locked in as well. One of his other remaining tank supports that Cuppers does love to play down there in the support role. Complementing that was a Jhin last time, I believe, as well, so perhaps something that KaBuM looked towards.
Good steal away there. Chitan going to take Jhin for himself. And one more pick to come through, of course, for KaBuM, as they look to solidify this first rotation in the draft. Ranger right now doing a bit of talking. Well, maybe a jungle early on with the Trundle ban is going to be the priority.
I think Olaf actually a decent pick here, considering that the Trundle is gone, the Alistar's locked in. Pretty good way to diffuse the engage, perhaps get through them once you hit level 6, but looks like they're going to go for some outplay potential down here and take a skill match.
Yeah, all bot lane all the time. Riyev going to take Thresh as KaBuM complete their duo, with only Alistar showing. Shernfire, yep, prevalence for the champion is going to go back to Skarner here.
Takes away the combo as well, having the Thresh and the Skarner denied completely, so that's not going to be seen. And now for Dire Wolves, they've got their jungler locked in, they've got their support. You would expect the AD carry, but options like the Karma always exist as a high priority if they wanted to go for it. Not today.
Certainly comfort here for King, taking Varus here to pair with the Alistar. I think kind of a similar trend to what we saw last time these two teams played. More aggression in the bot lane for Dire Wolves, and I think KaBuM are thinking the same thing with Jhin plus Thresh. So the Caitlyn that we kind of saw get really heavily pressured in the early game, probably not going to be the same story here.
Yeah, definitely not going to be as severe as the last time. And of course, there's that jungler we were talking about before. Yeah.
Well, Olaf, a couple seconds of decision-making to mull over, but it is Olaf locked in as 6 matches. As far as roles go in that phase 1 of the draft, we'll kick down now to phase 2 and see what solo laners these teams do not want to play against. Again, KaBuM with that counter pick for their last pick, gonna set this up nicely. Vlad, though, starting to see a lot more bans in this phase.
Triple's definitely a Cassiopeia player as well, so maybe considered. But of course, KaBuM being on the red side do have the first pick in the second pick phase, so they may try and actually go for a mid laner themselves, ban away some that they don't want to play against or get a good matchup, immediately pick your mid laner, deny something of the likes from Triple. Zoe also another one that he played exceptionally well, but it worked with the Jhin composition, so you may not see that this time.
Interesting to see Fiora actually banned by the Dire Wolves, so maybe suspecting that Zantins is going to have a carry on the way in the top side. I wonder if Chippys has a very specific pick in mind that he doesn't, wants to run into not Fiora.
Usually the Camille, so you could get a Gangplank with a Fiora perhaps, never mind.
Oh, Gangplank's still up as well, forgot about that guy. And going to be Azir banned instead from dyNquedo. So this is a really interesting point in the draft. Yeah, KaBuM, all right, you're going to leave up Gangplank, I guess we'll take it.
And I don't know if this is one of those games where Chippy is like, give me Aurelia again. It's always a possibility, so don't discount it.
Give the man Riven.
But he knows the kinds of matchups that he wants to play into the Gangplank. These bans were crafted by Dire Wolves, knowing full well that it still existed. Same thing applies for KaBuM as well, choosing to get rid of the Camille. They had the first pick and they chose that. This does give priority to mid lane for Dire Wolves with a priority champion if they would like the Cassiopeia. Or Yasuo.
Oh, yes! Yasuo locked in. There's the Ornn.
He picked that blind.
Yeah, that's a wait a second. I was like, I don't know how that counts as Gangplank. Well, that's not where he's going. Tank in the top side for Chippys. Gonna buck the trend. And Triple just throws down the gauntlet.
I swear to God, I'm the Yasuo fairy.
I know, this always happens to us.
This is great, but it is blind. So maybe they flex onto mid lane. I don't know what else to tell you about that. If it gets completely countered through the draft, the Zed was looked at, the LeBlanc makes more sense as a pick into that one. But that's just a very curious choice here from the Dire Wolves. They chose to pick the Yasuo on blue.
I mean, I'm not sure how many red side games they've got today. It may be 0. So at some point, they maybe just have to do it. But dyNquedo's LeBlanc already looked good when he played it earlier. Very different matchup, of course. But like a lot of Yasuo matchups for Rusty, going to be a fun one and a skill-based one.
If we talk about the matchup when we get there as well, let's actually look at Dire Wolves' composition around it, because that's something that does make a lot of sense here. And Alistar and an Ornn, 2 very good ways to get the combos off. So they've got fantastic combos for the Yasuo to get the ultimate available for himself. Of course, on the opposite side, there is an Olaf to defuse that in part. You've got some origins to make things less bad if you are the top laner of Zantins. KaBuM's composition overall still has a lot of strengths, a lot of pick potentially there as well, and one of the hardest things to do is run into that composition if they find you. The 2 tethers, the Jhin to follow it up. If they find you, they kill you.
Well, pretty interesting stuff to see. Apparently, though, this is Triple's first ever competitive Yasuo game. Has not pulled it out in a professional game. Don't worry, he's got a lot of experience on the champion, like a lot of young and up-and-coming mid laners when they were still that. A lot of assassins being played. Yasuo was among them.
Absolutely. Back when LeBlanc was also existing as well. He may be channeling his inner Bedoink here. Triple coming up big in this game. Well, he's a super important part of the composition as well, alongside King on the Varus, who is a fairly low-range champion. We mentioned all the pick that is available from the Brazilian side. Well, that's no easy thing to just sit there and dodge.
I mean, I think certainly can't ignore Triple or dyNquedo really in this game. Both had pretty strong tournaments. Triple especially has been maybe the unexpected force that's really been helping out Oceania to try and lift them up in these victories. He's had a great tournament. He's going to need to have one of the best games of his life, most likely, to keep their tournament hopes alive. And this is just KaBuM. Supermassive can wait. They're a long way away. These two teams cannot think about those matchups just yet. It is now do or die for KaBuM, and Dire Wolves just wanting to get as close as they can to their fiercest competitors.
Definitely focus on the game at hand here as well. We actually get a second to look at the Keystone Masters. If you guys haven't worked it out, I'm a Yasuo player, so I keep talking about it.
Me too.
So it's pastry time. It's a very unfortunate thing for all of you.
This is why this always happens to us.
But he has gone for press the attack. Conquer is something that you'll often see from a lot of them at the moment, but press the attack still works nicely, as long as he has the attack speed tree.
Yep, needs the yellow one, has the green tree, has backup as well for some defense. Gonna need it versus Electrocute, Ignite, LeBlanc, although does have an Ignite of his own.
So we have to remember the last time that these teams played against each other, it was a lot of top lane focus from Ranger in specific. He was going towards top a lot, trying to help Zantins, but it was completely diffused. Shernfire was constantly invading, was playing a tempo jungler, got the tempo, and started to scale up against his opponents. You can see that here in the goal graph, the exact moment that it completely went awry for them.
Yeah, and again, that was with some missteps, certainly from Dire Wolves in the earlier stages of it all. So looks like Leash will start here as we do have a look at Shern's stats versus Ranger. He was going off on Graves in that game.
Yeah, certainly was. He was everywhere. Got some 1v3 kills in the Dragon Pit as well. And you can see right now through those stats, the CS difference, the experience difference when they played against each other was obnoxiously large. That's a result of Shernfire's style and the fact that Ranger did take those early risks.
With similar JP as well, which is probably the most impressive thing. Shern was still there for his team, despite how heavily he was able to outfarm his opponent. So both these junglers can have to reset, and obviously for either one of them have a better game. Ranger on the Olaf though. I mean, in general, the jungles can get very aggressive here. And looks like they've passed opposite sides as well, as Triple lost the race to level 2. Now gonna hang out for a while.
As you do in this mid lane, of course. You have to wait for that level 2 mark. Also wants to have the wind wall, or just defaults usually to losing some trades out. So level 3 tends to be when Yasuo gets a bit stronger. This gives a lot of time to dyNquedo in the mid lane to get some vision down like you see, to have some control and alleviate some pressure perhaps for his jungler if any early moves existed. But they didn't in this instance.
Triple though does get a good amount of CS under the turret. Looks for the tornado, does land it. Again, has to just play so careful in the early levels of this matchup especially. In the meantime, though, Chippys and Zantins going one-on-one. Right now, Chippys looking good in the early trades. Gangplank does not have Grasp, which does help him in a lot of tougher early situations. Kleptomancy instead.
Yeah, wants to scale up and have more items as he goes later into the game. Of course, that does mean that Chippy should have complete control of the top lane, should have push of the top lane. So whilst dyNquedo had push in mid and was perhaps able to help his jungler if it came to it, it doesn't mean that top lane can do the same thing. And when junglers, if they meet each other, do, it's about who collapses first. And right now, it's a level lead for Shernfire.
Shern again getting an early XP advantage, but again with mid priority not there for him. Does take the Scuttle Crab, despite a good ward from KaBuM spotting that out. Nice wind wall from Triple. Again, have to be pretty sparing with the cooldown, but right now, beats him to level 4 thanks to dyNquedo moving out of the lane. And here at bot side, what a hook from Riyev. Cheats out immediately, following up with a flourish.
One of the scariest combos in League of Legends was the Thresh and Jhin of old as well. If a flay hits, if a hook hits, the follow-up crowd control from Jhin is always going to be there. And then he hits the crits, then he does the damage. And you're just locked down for so long that he starts to get multiple rotations of auto attacks out. Of course, attacking at a set speed does make that difficult to navigate. That's why the duo is so dangerous and so deadly.
Chippys again trading nicely. And some vision getting down. Triple starting to reverse the pressure on that wave to Shernfire. That's usually the go button to look for an invade or at least get some vision down. Right now, going to take the second Scuttle Crab. Good bit of gold. Going to pop the Scryer's Bloom. Maybe even get a ward down. Does have one available. He's going to pop it down in the intersection here.
He's going to reveal his position as well by getting this Crystal Skull.
But he got 15 gold.
Yeah, he's making money. He's also got the Scuttle Crab, so he's actually made an abundance of gold. And of course, that's completely removed by the control ward that he just lost.
Ranger, good instincts there, moves into the brush immediately after a control ward's been placed, so picks up the vision and, of course, a bit of gold.
You're looking at some early movements as well around the Drake in particular. Olaf also very good at taking that, but it's a Cloud Drake, so it's not ideal. You may not be looking towards that one as early pressure unless you get a pick or a massive health chunk out of someone.
Both junglers actually pretty good in that department. So I think for the first time in a while, certainly in the last matchup we had, this is different. Both junglers have a lot more influence in the early stages of the game. So we have to kind of figure out where it's all going, as Tripple's just trying to get whatever minions he can. Can be tough sometimes, but doing a pretty nice job. Again, dyNquedo's just had so much pressure and presence, which is what you need as a LeBlanc. And if he's not finding a foothold in this lane, you best believe he's going to leave it and roam somewhere else.
Yeah, definitely. The level 6 point is something that we'll have to continue to monitor as well. Only the 2 teleports to be seen, both mid laners running Ignite to continue to have that lane pressure. And no unsealed spellbooks, the Electrocute and the Press the Attack. So top laners are always going to be the primary pivot in the side lanes. Junglers hitting 6, also kill threat. Zantins is very low here.
Chippys has set this up so well. Now the Predator going to get burned. He's waiting at the flash. Shern, oh, he misses the E. Can't follow up for the stun, but still pretty much a free flash guild.
Yeah, you take the Flash for Predator as a trade. If you're Shernfire, you know that level 6 is just around the corner. If Chippys was 6, that was a definite kill. You have to force the Flash out a lot earlier, but he was holding a big wave.
Well, good step forward there, but doesn't want to commit for the chain. Triple with a quick win wall. But again, just waiting for the wave to move back towards him. Does not want to take unnecessary risks, especially going Berserker Greaves very early on. Nice and aggressive. There's 2 more people. Make it +1 with Ranger as well.
4 people
moving
actually
towards the mid lane.
That is a lot of people. Now, he doesn't have the win wall for a couple of seconds. It'll be up soon, though, so you'd have to imagine as these minions crash, he'll have it, but can he actually withstand all of that damage? Something's up, he knows it.
Such a big wave as well. He is 6, but yeah, Chitan's there. Good win wall, my goodness. Stopped the shot that would have moved the Flourish in, but I mean, they're just pressuring the turret.
Yeah, it doesn't stop the cannon from being lost from the 10 minions that are now crashing under the turret and the next follow-up wave. He has no assistance either, so he actually just loses a trade on the back side of that.
Knows he has to dodge too. Somehow that chain does not connect. Takes a good amount of poke again. He's just trying to keep the turret healthy. dyNquedo maybe smells blood. He has his Ignite still. Proc to Electrocute already once.
It's just a nice little move, honestly, from the side of KaBuM. They find an opportunity. Now, the cost was still decently high experience through the bottom lane. King will be closer to 6 now before Chitan does tick that one over. That's always going to be a window of opportunity, perhaps for the Dire Wolves to collapse, perhaps to bring Shernfire down as well and look for a play. But so far, that early move, whilst it remains unpunished, is fantastic from the Brazilian.
Yeah, just really solid stuff there. The Swiftness Boots helping out Chitan. Pretty standard there on the gym, but gets him move it to mid lane a little bit faster, if nothing else. King with Cupcake alone.
He's 1 minion away from 6, King, so he wants to get this melee and then go.
He's got it. Fog of War also helping out. Shern going to sneak in. There is no vision in this brush. We know that. Dials likely know as well. Oh, they're so patient.
They're holding the freeze, trying to bait KaBuM to go forwards. Good awareness and vigilance, but they're still...
Flashes and still gets ulted, and everybody's going to flash out of there. Suppression's going to last for long enough, and first blood over to Shernfire.
It's very cute. It's unsurprising from us with the God Vision, but still well executed from the Dire Wolves in particular. You could see there was something wrong for KaBuM. They knew something was up, but they didn't know where he was coming from. Ranger does punish a little bit getting into the Raptor camp, but the kill is still there, and it went to Shernfire. The camp doesn't matter.
Yep, right now Shern hits 6 and gets a good reward from it there as he picks this kill off.
You get to see the Varus ultimate, of course, the Flash ultimate. Very hard to dodge, and unfortunately the Flash response was, hang on.
Chippys looking for a 1v1 though. On a big stage, the nerves may have been shaken off as Chippys. They're going to try and fight it out. Flashes out from under the barrage though.
He has got the shield for the next Q if it came out from Zantins, which is why Chippy, you can see him stepping up, playing forwards. It was just off cooldown. There was a chance that kill was there if he had any more CDR. Well done from Zantins to navigate that one, stay alive. And of course, he has got sustain.
Flash down, but TP up for Chippys. See if he wants to use that for a bit of health, as dyNquedo does get the blue buff donated nicely over from Ranger. He's also building up a nice CS lead. The pressure that KaBuM so smartly put there in the mid lane, it's actually giving him a 15 CS lead right now as Triple goes back to base.
It means a great deal of bringing everybody there, and the amount of minions that you saw crash under that turret was a cannon, 8 odd range minions, and then another wave that he had to fight for CS in and lost half of his health. So great moves, honestly, from KaBuM. Still super impressed with that play that they just did on a dime.
Yeah, you can see again KaBuM continuing to kind of get a foothold here in the bot lane. Looks like rapid fire cannon first will be the business for Chitan. It's King moving in towards that Rage Blade. Cupcake with the Moby Boots can get active, but not able to really leave the lane so much. Again, KaBuM's total kind of mid-bot side pressure has been really good so far.
It is super hard to leave your AD carry against the Jhin and a Thresh. Those two, when you look at Riyev and Chitan, they'll just take you down immediately. They'll sprint at you, and there's no boots, however, from the Thresh on the opposite side. So, well, he'll just be hovering around the bottom side of the map, staying in lane a little bit more. And that's where it's difficult to navigate as Cupcake. Of course, with those mobility boots, usually you just leave lane. You go everywhere. You work with your jungler, you come mid lane. They've got a Yasuo Alistar combo they want to make work. It's about can he?
Yep, definitely trying to apply more pressure. dyNquedo goes in. Triple be patient. Back over the wall with the distortion there for LeBlanc. And Triple is not going any other magic resist. He has the resolve tree there, so we'll have a bit of extra survivability, but he's just rushing straight for those items and kind of maybe hoping LeBlanc doesn't have enough burst.
Well, you know in this matchup, LeBlanc does have enough burst. It's about kill threat. Can you sustain in lane? Can you actually farm through, or will LeBlanc take you down?
Chain lands. That's a good start here. Ignite's also there, but doesn't commit with Shern. Going back in for the counter pressure.
Wants to push, reset the wave perhaps for the side of the Dire Wolves. They need Triple to go back to base, get his health back, or there's too much control on the map granted to the KaBuM roster. I like this from Shernfire, but he reveals himself. So then you look to Ranger and you're like, what does he actually take away? And he's just on his own side of the map. Look at the vision they've got in the river as well. It's defensive. Most of the neutral control belongs to the Dire Wolves. This buys them time to clear that out.
Yeah, I think Shern kind of very sternly said that this is my side of the map. Again, trying to defend that pink. Not going to go this time. Again, trying to get something down, looking for a stun, going to try and bait something out. But here's actually King caught out in the river. Going to be a tough one here. There's the Ragnarok pop. King's going to be the target. They are going to take him down. LeBlanc just blows him up. And now Cupcake finds Chitan, but triple not a wrench to ulti. It's a disaster as dyNquedo gets a double kill.
They just get completely collapsed on good use of the ult from Chitan there as well. They just find the mark. They get the targets. They didn't even think triple was probably around the corner at all. And it didn't make a difference if he was. And they just get control. They get the kills. The dragon should be secured. Bottom lane control, mid lane control, it's theirs. The Gangplank starts to scale up. You are seeing the makings the rest of the game.
Cloud Drake over to KaBuM as well, so they get the first Drake here in this game. As we watch this one again.
And he's on a Ward King. He has nowhere really to go. Even if the Jhin ultimate doesn't connect onto him, he'd be running towards a LeBlanc and an Olaf with Ragnarok on. He just knew he was dead. Unfortunately for the rest of the Wolves, Shernfire tries to protect, tries to help him. Doesn't just sacrifice his AD carry.
Yep, Gangplank also very nicely used there by Zantins, so able to again just so tough for Varus with no flash to do a lot in that situation. So well played there by KaBuM. They'll move themselves up 1,000 gold ahead.
And if you're monitoring the flash cooldowns as well, you know that Jhin still doesn't have his for as long as you don't have yours. Moving into the next couple of minutes of play, it will be available. But for now, Shernfire is also very close to having his available, and that was when they made the plays, Dire Wolves. They looked towards bottom lane for the kills. That Skarner having the flash does wonders for getting the ultimate off.
Yep, and triple though just getting really harassed here by the LeBlanc. It's not getting much better with dyNquedo having 1,000 gold lead in this matchup and getting those timing on the buys. Again, going to try and make it happen. Does get the last breath. Shernfire going to come in. Forces a flash.
Now the flash used very early by dyNquedo does not want to be a part of the Skarner walking forwards at all. Of course, that's not the real one.
Nope. He's going to get the
25 gold though.
Nice.
Why not? You take those.
Shernfire also going to use this pressure to, and Chippys pushing to try and take the Rift Herald here. So kind of like this translation of play from Dire Wolves again, knowing that the bot side maybe have to play a little more carefully.
We are at a point where there's some pretty big item spikes for top lane as well. So Zantins is currently in a position where he may well be stronger than Chippys, especially in team fight contribution from damage specifically. Of course, the utility is still going to be there from Chippys. So moving into the next fights, Zantins is a threat.
Yeah,
he's now a legitimate threat you have to worry about.
Certainly struggling in some of the trades and in the farm for a little while, still down a couple, and actually will be more as Chippys moves to the lane, but Kleptomancy working overtime, and those 2 assists from the ulti helping as well. Great.
They're diving.
Hook throw from Riyev. Yeah, Ranger pops the Predator. Yep, goes in. Cupcake says nope. Runs defense there. Doesn't pop the ulti either, so pretty safe stuff so far.
I like the aggressive use of the Predator here from both respective junglers. Just threatening. The move speed scares people away, and they're just trying to defend the turret here, Dire Wolves, but a fresh wave crashes. And you can see, oh, they're going in.
TP in, they're going to try and make a big play. Chippys coming down. Cupcake with a good start to the play. Now Chippys looking for the knockup, finds Riyev. Now Cupcake maybe looking to follow it up. King already burnt the ulti, but Riyev does not have many good places to run. Gonna blast going out and try and buy time. Triple looking over the wall, but now Shernfire. Yeah, he's just buying time for this point. Gonna maybe protect some pressure in mid. Another one. Blastcone goes over. Riyev still staying alive for a little bit longer, but slowly.
Oh, God.
And maybe not surely, he'll die. The base gate from Shern, they're going to give him exclusive access.
We just keep him here for a little while. Where's he going to go? He's running towards Chippys. Have a little bit of a party in base.
A lot of time wasted. He'll give goal over eventually. Still looking for an escape. Flashes over the wall.
He may actually make this.
Going to make him work for it. Shern's got the ulti. They're going to try and give it over to Triple. This could be where all goes a little bit wrong, and Triple, he will eventually get the gold.
Forces the ultimate in the end. You get a summoner spell out of Riyev, so you actually take that as a victory. Now they start to press forwards again. The Dire Wolves looking to protect their blue buff. That's not going to be the case, and still that was so much time bought. Remember that the outer turret was taken.
Yeah, they got mid.
By KaBuM. They're able to secure that one against the Yasuo, who now has a worse time in mid lane, hasn't hit the item spikes. But more importantly, what happens in the bottom lane? Cupcake on Alistar, something you never wanted to see coming into this game. If you're a KaBuM fan, he gets that engage off brilliantly.
He's certainly been very confident in his play on the champion, and that has been reflected here in the MSI play-in. And again, KaBuM still holding a pretty nice lead. It was been equalized a little. First turret gold also for mid lane, so 1,500 or so is the lead currently for KaBuM. But you can see that both teams are kind of building up to the next points of power. Rapid fire cannon, Luden's done for the bot laner and mid laner of KaBuM respectively, and the PD finally done for Triple, with the Gintu's also done for King. So I think, again, given how close the game is in gold, given that there's an Infernal Drake spawning in a minute 50, we will have a big moment brewing in a moment.
What? Is that not the bush?
That's unfortunate.
That's actually really tragic. They think they're hidden. Hell, I can't believe that's not the bush. Can't believe that's not real butter.
Brush physics are quite the thing. But unfortunately, Ward not quite there. A little too low in that brush, perhaps.
And hopefully it doesn't result into something dire for the Dire Wolves.
I see what you did there.
I didn't intend it, but...
Well, we'll kick on to the rest of the game. Again, Chippys, Iceborne done. Trinity Force Blow plus the Fist done on the top side as looks like Rome's bot side. Shernfire's back down here, but it's a 3v3. KaBuM here early. King forced to flash away. Good Lantern out. Fast Bullet does not connect, and Triple also waiting for someone to walk too far forward. LeBlanc also coming down, though. KaBuM with a bit of a faster rotation, but no one gets killed.
They see the opportunity. They do still push King away. His health bar blinking, of course, needs to be respectful now. Not a lot of life still on him, just the fleet footwork. So that means control of the bottom lane is still belonging to KaBuM. They start to press forwards and break more turrets potentially. Top lane, another example of this starting to collapse and go down.
Yeah, I think Chippy's TP, I mean, Gangplank can just kind of contribute with his ult, so Zantins has had a lot of free time there, and despite, again, getting traded on nicely, Chippys can't go on forever.
It's one of those things where if you leave lane once, you lose your entire turret. That's just what a Gangplank will do to you, especially with the Trinity Force done. And whilst it's a duelist item, he's against resistances. Because there was no real chance of that hook actually connecting.
Yeah, safety wall though from Triple. As Zantins still in a bit of trouble. Chippys has ulti, might make it happen. Rift Tower will also summon, looking for mid, but this may not result in too much here.
And while Zantins doesn't have crowd control, Chippys is locked to top lane. He has to stand in front of the turret at all times. Of course, GP being a melee champion, can't step up, risks dying. That's nice stuff from Chippys, but it also gives opportunities for the KaBuM roster. And denying a Herald being used at all for any kind of success is still a victory for them.
Yeah, again, trying to use some of that pressure to go back down bot, get presence over the Drake, but the speed train already belongs to KaBuM. It looks like a fight may be brewing. Chippy's actually walking down, leaving his turret just to try and secure this Drake for his team and a team fight win as well. We'll see if the Dire Wolves can get it.
They have teleport on Gangplank where there is not one on Chippys, and you can see that ward still on the bottom bush of bottom lane. There's always a chance to go down there. But that's only the only real teleport ward that isn't shallow, and they're teleporting early here, looking for it.
Yep, Hook not going to hit either. Chippys hanging out, dashes away. Zantins here very early, but now priority back on the Drake area for KaBuM.
They assert themselves early, but they don't necessarily know if they want to commit to a fight. Dire Wolves are hovering around this area, perhaps looking for it of their own.
Everything ready to go. Teamfight's going to break out. Shernfire pops the Predator, gets it cancelled. Hook also going to land in. The Drake goes over to KaBuM, but here's a big ult. They're going to try and make it happen. A three-man knocker. The last breath from Yasuo. And a rout by Dire Wolves. They get Riyev. They only get 2 kills. Make it 1, actually. Chitan, the only one to go down.
There's still so many low health bars from the side of KaBuM. You can see the combo now with the Yasuo in full effect. It starts with the headbutt pulverize. It ends with the Yasuo ultimate whilst Chippys is in there sounding the horn. Now they get pressure. Now they get to push mid lane and bottom lane at the same time. That's just from the damage they dealt, not necessarily the objectives they've secured.
Yep, didn't get the Infernal, so a trade here still for KaBuM, but will lose out in at least 1 turret. If Dire Wolves can get a second, it may be worth it, but it's only going to be 1.
Again, it starts with the hook. The pit composition of KaBuM tries to execute, but everything was gone. And then suddenly all of the knockups are there. The combo is there. At the end of the day, of course, it's very hard to stop the unstoppable object of an Olaf as he sprints through the entire combo. But he was very low up.
One of the people caught in the ulti was also a LeBlanc clone, which explains why LeBlanc was able to live despite appearing to be knocked up. But KaBuM do well to get away and only lose 1 and a turret. Turret still in their advantage, up 2-1, and Infernal's a nice streak in any game.
This isn't really a point in the game. Actually, Chippys needs to show some respect here.
Yep,
there we go.
Does do so. Charges out of the way.
This isn't a point in the game where scaling is a major thing for either of these teams. One team outright outscales the other. Of course, LeBlanc and Jhin, both good late game for very different purposes. They're
oh my goodness.
That's 20 minutes on the dot. They have started the Baron. It's on Vision as well. They've just seen everyone bottom.
Yep.
They said go.
This is extremely bold. Maybe baits a fight here. Ranger does have his ult. They can just run in and try and take it.
They're all going to be here in time.
Yeah, and now Chippys knows he has to ult, but the hook actually doesn't run out quite in time, but no ult committed to Chitan in such good positioning. Shernfire, they need to protect their jungle, or the Baron is going to be forfeit, but a massive 4-man play from Riyev. dyNquedo takes down the Skarner. Ranger will fall, but what a play from KaBuM.
So risky from Dire Wolves. KaBuM just collapsed. They get the kills. 3 now gone in front of the Baron buff. Riyev comes up clutch. Zantins does so much damage. And they may just secure the objective for themselves now.
I mean, looks like Baron is going to go over. Shern is dead. There's nothing to contest for. Chippy's not even going to go there. Dire Wolves know they messed up and gave away the Baron.
Yeah, that'll be free. Just the recalls from the rest of the Dire Wolves roster. Big mistake from them. It was a risky play, and it was on a ward. It was really close for Zantins.
Instead, we'll watch how this one unfolds. I mean, they know they have to try and find a fight, so they do.
But this is a lot of health gone. Firstly, Shernfire has no health. Secondly, watching the kegs from Zantins here, because he hits multiple members with this. All of them get chunked, and Riyev sees his moment. Flashes forwards, hits the play onto all of them. Wishing the Yasuo was on his team, frankly, with how good that was. And the best thing Dire Wolves could do from there is try their best to trade, maybe get some extra health missing. But they'd already lost the fight from the point Gangplank hit that keg.
And you can see Zantins, despite maybe some rough trades in the early game, overperforms for damage on that front. And now Chippys is caught in a tough spot. Does have a turret to run to, but has a Thresh locking him up for what feels like forever. Chippys does not have enough health to last through this, perhaps, and Ranger's going to make sure that is absolutely true. Chippys is going to hang out for a little while. Wanted to creep to try and take, but dyNquedo instead gets his 4th kill of the game.
The slow death, but it is a death nonetheless, and that's now a 4v5 for the KaBuM roster to push forwards. If they're looking perhaps to take a turret down, they could group for mid, they could group for top, but they don't really have a lot of options. It's going to take them some time to actually press forwards and find the turrets that they want to take down with the Baron buff. So it's been really good defusal from Dire Wolves on the opposite side, just to purchase time. But that's all they've purchased.
Yep, they have to get it. And again, Dire Wolves will also have to tap into quite a lot of that newfound mental fortitude in this game. They had things kind of rolling for a while, but the game was close. And now this lead, even at 4,000, is a pretty solid one. It looks to extend very rapidly here for KaBuM. So Dire Wolves will have to mount some sort of comeback here.
Yeah, dyNquedo's now 4-0-2 on the LeBlanc, so he can pretty much 1v1 anybody on Summoner's Rift. You just saw how much damage he dealt to Chippys in that last little engage on the bottom side as well. And this is an opportunity for KaBuM to enact a 1-3-1, to actually set themselves up around that and just completely rout the Dire Wolves, pressure them out, give them no options.
Yep, Shern getting chunked. Again, dyNquedo, despite seeing at least 2 champions here with Shernfire and Chippys down. Triple was also down earlier. And Skarner's kind of tanky sometimes, but not that tanky right now.
Yeah,
given how strong the 2-item 100% KP LeBlanc is.
Only armor purchase from him so far. Shernfire actually are reasonably squishy if there's ever any magic damage touching him. Now, Triple cannot do this by himself. He does need the team to come here.
As Cupcake, but might need more. 3 versus 3 actually as King rotates in. Might look for a play, but tough to do. Instead, they'll clear out the wave and see what the next move from KaBuM is.
Just all 3 lanes at the same time. It was a 1-3-1. Now it is 2 people in the top lane. Olaf pivoting between. LeBlanc also the closest without teleport. Gangplank has finally set up in the correct lane assignments, but there's only 50 seconds left on this Baron buff. And it's a big power play. You'll take the gold influx from this, but it's not optimal in that you haven't broken the base.
Triple can see a play, but he barely misses that tornado. Shernfire also here, he's going to commit for it, but actually maybe just to scare them away and get the Baron off the cannon creep. That turret is alive for a sliver longer, but Chitan's like, yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah, absolutely not. Just take that one down, no problems at all. And we get the reset with this Baron buff gone. You'd expect the KaBuM will just go back after this last wave. If they get something, then that's great, but if they don't...
Oh, Cupcake.
Now it's time to purchase items.
dyNquedo is really slick on this LeBlanc as well. Cupcake was looking for an angle, and LeBlanc just says, no thank you. As everyone from the Dire Wolves still looking to try and scale up, KaBuM have built a good, solid lead here of 6k, maybe more actually, as they re-siege with just a few seconds left on Baron to take another turret. They will be rewarded by the looks of things. Oh, great hook as well. Extension on the play. Shernfire's going to get blown to pieces, perhaps, by the LeBlanc as Cupcake tries to find Chitan, who flashes out of the way.
The flash does get him to safety at the very least with the lantern from Riyev, but everything finally starts to fizzle. The turret in the mid lane still being pressured. They have not chosen to go back to base. They want to get as much gold as they can before that fact. They do not want to let a Yasuo scale. They do not want to let the Varus get to all of those item spikes when they have control of the map. They're pushing it now.
And that's 7,000 gold ahead, a very strong lead here. And make it Drake number 3. Second Cloud going to join in as they look to reset and shop from a mountain of gold to go and spend.
Yeah, there's an absurd amount of money that they're about to get out of their pockets and into some big items. The Gangplank already at a BF sword, on top of the 2 finished items that he has compared to Chippys of just the 2. From this point, the Gangplank had the Kleptomancy, starts to scale up, starts to get those big team fights potentially available, and he's a major part of their team fighting. Jhin and LeBlanc, they hit single targets for a bunch of damage, but the Gangplank can hit multiple.
Yeah, we saw that in the Baron team fight that got them this lead. dyNquedo roams up to protect this turret. Dire Wolves still only with 1 turret versus the 5 from KaBuM, so they're going to make some plays. They'll need to buckle down farm and just wait for a moment, because there is really nothing, no space at all to do anything on the map. The Brazilians have done such a great job snowballing this game.
Yeah, with the mid lane outer turret still standing, KaBuM have a very safe space to be at in the middle of the map. Dire Wolves do not. They have to place vision. You can see it in the middle of the lane just to feel a little bit more safe. They still want picks. They need to still show some respect here, KaBuM. The combo is quite damaging if it is ever to connect. But now they are so far behind in gold, they're behind in control of the map that it doesn't feel like they can just hit it, but they are looking.
There's 9 flashes up, one of them missing is Chitan, but a lantern from Riyev saves him. Might be enough space to try and take the turret down, but this is risky. Hook on to Cupcake, dyNquedo gonna dive back in. They really want the turret, but they're not gonna grab it. Zantins with an ulti, and now they're just gonna maybe pick up Cupcake, the ulti, about to run out, the bullets are there, and dyNquedo gets yet another kill.
Way too far forwards from the Dire Wolves. They overreach, they look for an opportunity, maybe they get the pick, but once the walkaway was there, the lantern was available, call it a day. You're not even going to get the turret in that instance, and now KaBuM, they get one of their own. They push forwards. The opportunity for Dire Wolves to defend is fleeting without Cupcake available. Not a lot else that they have left.
Only inhibitor turrets to defend now, as well, plus the Nexus turrets to defend now as well. Good, decent knockup, but those are not the targets you're looking for.
Yasuo does clear waves quickly when the Tornado's there as well, hitting the backline with all the crit that he's got. The wind wall also helps a lot against both of the LeBlanc, the Thresh, and the Jhin even, actually, in stopping their damage in siege scenarios. You're looking at 35 seconds, the Baron up and available as the place that the Brazilian side try and win the game.
Yep, one more Baron's probably all it's going to take unless they get a big pick. King forced to burn the heals. dyNquedo dashes over and triple. He wants it, he's got to make a play. Looks at the Tornado, doesn't land it. And there's no one there to follow up with him.
You have to respect that he's continuing to look and that he's being reserved enough to not just go straight forwards, just try and hit the Tornado perhaps. And that could be your go button. But because they continue to not find the mark, it does not find purchase, they continue to keep KaBuM in the lead. They continue to lose more and more control.
Yeah, and now they're almost 10,000 gold behind. Cannot afford to lose this next Baron. Can't really afford to lose much more on the map. KaBuM again is doing so nicely, and I have to go back to the mid lane. dyNquedo, I mean, he had a decent lane, of course, but the team fight phase, the roaming, the pressure he applied. There's a reason he's 100% KP with the most kills in the game.
His movement around the map has been superb. His mastery of the new LeBlanc, the new old LeBlanc for what it's worth as well, is still very evident that Jhin has summoned the curtain call.
Time for KaBuM to get in there, but there's a good ult. They're looking for Chitan in the back, but he popped the Q assist to try and peel them off. They do get the kill! 4v5 scenario for the Dire Wolves, so at least get the mid lane out of turret.
Yeah, you take that pick. Still no flash available for the Jhin, and they knew it, and they try and collapse on him, and it works. They get the kills. Pushing forward, still risky.
Oh, Cupcake, they find it! They get the snap at Zantins! Massive Gangplank play. Get some counter kills. Shernfire dead. That's going to turn off the Baron possibility.
But that is the carries gone from KaBuM, so it may not actually turn off the Baron. Chippys.
2 out of 3 ain't bad, as we say. The Rusty Zantins still up and very able to carry.
And he's doing a lot of damage, so it's just about a focused play from the Dire Wolves if they want anything. You take those 2 kills, you get the turret, you try and help yourself with the goal difference between the teams. The fact that it's just the kills and not an objective past those kills does still give KaBuM the driver's seat.
And again, they'll look to reset up back around the Baron, but again, Dire Wolves still some fight in them.
And one of the amusing things, of course, about the Jhin is that you are going to get locked down. Triple, he's got a second member in Cupcake that he can combo with, and the QSS gets you away, but it doesn't stop Triple from being able to apply the constant damage as he's already in melee range. Jhin has to be super cautious against this composition when going forwards, and Shernfire hits the ultimate, brings him all the way back. Whilst the keg was fantastic from Zantins, that's the second time we've seen it from him. It doesn't make enough of a difference when both of his other carries are already gone.
I mean, yeah, they lost that team fight. He still did almost 4,000 damage, so Gangplank proving to be a problem in this game. The gold lead has been cut pretty significantly. I think down to 8k now, if my eyes do not deceive me. But the fight for this next Baron is really the big one. Chitan with a flash, but holds strong in the face of a gust of wind straight towards his face.
The crazy thing about this game, Ranger, he's well out of position. He should be okay, though.
Adult flash, so is safe.
Crazy thing about this game, Pastry Time, is that there's a sizable lead for KaBuM, you know? It's 8,000.
Yeah, that's a very good lead.
About 5,000 of that's through the top lane. That's how strong
goodness,
he is compared to his
Gangplank.
opponent.
Wonderful he spawns thoughts later on the champion, but is a good one, certainly. And right now, KaBuM know with pretty decent vision supremacy, although that pesky ward on the left is causing some problems. They know that this next Baron very likely spells the end of the game.
And the rest of the gold lead does go towards the mid lane, also having a good showing as dyNquedo. As mid lane, they've got him.
King again flashes out after the flay, but now Ranger going in, trying to zerg him down. Cupcake, oh, that's a triple actually goes straight in for it, trying to set up for Chippys, gets a decent knockup, but they don't quite get enough kills. Triple ignited, he's gonna fall down to the LeBlanc. The follow-up stun after the trap, I believe, is Zantins, picks up the kill onto Shernfire. Cupcake slowed by the last bullet from Jhin's gun, and he's just gonna have to try and save his teammates because he rooted down and killed. Zantins going off on Gangplank.
And vision's still there for KaBuM. They could go to the Baron if they please take it for free, but why do that when you've already got 3 dead? It's just King and Chippys trying to defend the base. Push towards the top lane, the minions you prepared earlier. It's the very least going to be an inhibitor here. If they're feeling frisky, they can push forwards. They can try and go for more.
Another team fight win is going to gift over top inhib. Well, that turret does fall down. Game may not end at this point. Death time is still somewhat low. Closing in on the 32-minute mark, but Baron is again once up for grabs, and Dire Wolves will be there to defend it, but they won't be there with vision.
Yeah, they're not going to have a chance really to walk forward. You'd have to expect that it'll be done too quickly if Zantins is in the area attacking the Baron buff, but we'll see how long it takes for them. And it is completely blind, like you mentioned. They are walking through a littering of red dots to get to the pit.
Chippys almost has all, but Shernfire is booking it there with the Skarner. He's going to make it in time for the pit. Doesn't have flash, so just have to kind of get in there, get stunned. Beautiful play there from KaBuM, and they will secure themselves the Baron. Chippys' ult is a little late.
Now, Shernfire didn't actually have the flash. May have flashed the hook to go forwards into the pit if he was looking to secure that one. Perhaps get the smite, but well executed. Once again, Riyev on this Thresh is hitting the hooks, is hitting the flays. And everyone, honestly, from KaBuM starting to stand up and have a stellar showing.
Yeah, Triple looks like he's relegated to trying to kill the super minions as Dials want to pick. Riyev is a good one to get. They find the ward. They're going to lock him down, but dyNquedo might just blow up King. Goodbye. No, not yet, but the Cannon Barrage is going to seal his fate. Flash auto from Titan. He's going to grab it, and the Dials, they just reach too far to try and get something. They could have taken the safe mountain, but they get nothing.
You have a feeling they were looking to just cheese. Ranger now going to continue to try and find Chippys. This may well be the longest death in history if they continue this one out.
Oh, Gangplank's in the area, so maybe not too slow. Charges away. Oh, so many axes. Oh, that trigger doesn't quite connect. Chippys again, going to hold up. Cannot last long versus that Gangplank. Ranger actually going to get credit for the kill.
You've got 20 seconds now, Shernfire, King and Cupcake. They start to push forwards. Triple wasn't there the entire time. He was actually pushing on the opposite side of the map. I feel like Dire Wolves, maybe they were just... We'll find dyNquedo going to blue buff. That was the only thought that they really had to themselves. They found Riyev along the way, and they didn't see the LeBlanc. So suddenly that trade was super poor. As they step up forwards, may even try and end the game here.
Yeah, 2 inhibs left. They got Baron for 2 minutes here, and it's just Triple right now hanging out on the defense. Teammates are coming in. Better make this team put a good one, boys.
It's going to be the last-ditch effort for them, or the game will just be over. Desperation once again will continue. They bought themselves some time, but the third inhibitor is about to crumble as well if they don't get up to defend this one.
And who do you even kill? There are 3 solid carries on the KaBuM side right now. Got to find a real good team fight combo. They're trying for it all game, but haven't found it yet. They'll get Zantins in the knockup, but they know that he can get out. Shernfire just gets chunked by the LeBlanc. Winwall's going to try and buy some time. Chitan does burn the QSS, but they're going to cover fire here with the Jhin ult. Ragnarok again in the back. King just gets slapped out immediately. Triple in the backside, trying to make it happen onto Chitan. He wants to make a few more plays. Cupcake with a good pulverize, but Ranger takes down Shern. Oh, the Dials are just getting slaughtered. KaBuM played so well this game. They'll take down Cupcake. They'll leave Chippys as the only man left alive. In fact, they're not even going to do that. They'll get him down. They'll grab the 8, and that's game. KaBuM.
Clean from KaBuM. They get the last team fight. If the gold was even, perhaps Dire Wolves had that one, but not to be. The Brazilian side too strong.
They rout Dire Wolves in this next game here. The second encounter was much better for them than the last, and they will keep themselves alive here at MSI Play-In.
And now everything gets a little bit more spicy. The Supermassive on the top side, they're good. They're feeling real happy about themselves, but second place is up in the air, and only first place goes through. So it could well be the reverse story here. The Brazilians caused the upset for the Oceanic side.
Set it up. When you start putting the faith in, that's when things start to fall a little at the wayside. Still a chance for both these teams, of course. Now, equaling But it's going to be a tough one. I believe they're now tied at 2-2, and both teams may have to cross their fingers or just hope they can both beat Supermassive. It could be a crazy day, but again, Supermassive sitting atop the group at 4-0, feeling pretty good as things shake out. But my goodness, the upcoming matches are important.
Both banking on the fact that they can respectively beat Supermassive, otherwise they may just be too far ahead. That'll be the name of the game for the rest of today. And after that game, we saw a lot of positives from KaBuM. I think they got significantly better from day to day. So that's something that you have to take moving forwards. We saw that Supermassive are a beatable side, and we saw progression from the Brazilian team. It's about, can Oceania bring it back?
I think you said it best where you said that, you know, even though there were a lot of good moments for individuals there for KaBuM, they just played well as a whole team. No one member really stood out to me as, okay, maybe he didn't play that well. They all played to kind of the level we expected when we saw them win their domestic finals. So again, teams always show up a little late at these tournaments. It is tough, but it is nice to see them very strong.
Yeah, and for me, a lot of it is Zantins. He's the star that we have to talk about in that game. And against the Yasuo, they made it work.
Certainly did. To hear more about that game, though, we're going to send it over to the analyst desk.
When it comes to this game, extremely explosive, and KaBuM had to win to keep their hopes alive at that #1 spot, and they did, so all credit to them. But I have a bit of a bone to pick with the Dire Wolves. Let's take a look at the pick and ban. We talked so much about the fact that they came into this tournament poised, not too overzealous, from strength to strength, not too overconfident, and then they come out with a draft, which is quite risky as their first game. Now, you could always say that could swing towards the side of, hey, they dared to pick it, but I think it leans a bit towards overconfidence. A blind pick Yasuo is what do you guys think?
I think the composition makes sense because you have ways to set up the Yasuo combo. But the fact that they blind picked the Yasuo and they were still like something like the LeBlanc that got played into it, it just feels like a risk that you didn't have to take, right? The Azir ban can instead be a GP, and then you can go ahead and pick an Azir yourself.
That's more
if
at
it's
risk.
left
Did they
up, stuff
have
like that.
to take that risk?
It's always a question of, that's a fair question, but I think that because of the composition was pretty succinct, I think that it works. The major focus is bottom lane to me. The fact that their bottom lane was doing pretty, or at least it should have done pretty well, Varus and Alistar could have been pushing up, then it allows Alistar to move in. So they could have been the ones to set up for the fight. And because they had that access, I think I'm okay with the draft because it allows them to set up for their competition.
Are you okay with the draft order? Are you okay with like the Yasuo being picked blind? Because I think this makes more sense as like a red pick.
Is what irks me a bit.
I think because Yasuo has more flexibility now, because you can go Conqueror, means that you can go blind in that sense. Okay. Because if there was a lot more tanks before in the past when Conqueror didn't exist, then I'd be like, okay, well, it is a massive risk because you can just get straight armor into it. Because now he had the option to go Conqueror. He didn't go it because there was actually just full squishies on that end. He was like, all right, I'll go towards, press the attack, I'll find myself in the side lane. It's just the strategy was there. The ultimate problem was that they fell through in those team fights that they had set up.
You didn't hate it, but it was in the game. And I'm actually going to come back to the point of the overconfidence a bit later because I think we saw more signs of that. But I do want to give credit to KaBuM and the composition that they had. And let's take a look at the dyNquedo rather, double kill at the Dragon, which is obviously what you don't want if there is a LeBlanc in the game.
Yeah, I think a lot of this comes down to the GP ultimate slowed the collapse, allowed for KaBuM to collapse harder, and that's what I think made the difference in this fight. And then both kills going over to LeBlanc, that's the doomsday.
Yeah.
If they had pushed up the adjacent lanes a little bit more, if they were going for the Cloud Dragon, that's fair if you can do that. But you're talking about the GP pick. The GP ulti was fantastic to allow them to just flank in. That's the case. You already saw what the Yasuo did there. He's like, all right, I'm piecing out of this fight. I don't want any part of it.
So LeBlanc gets 2 kills. KaBuM gets an advantage. We see it here, plus 1.9k at 15. In the CB low, when KaBuM has a lead, any lead at 15 minutes, it can be 1 gold. They 100% of the time win the game.
Yeah.
So it was going to be an uphill battle for the Dire Wolves from then, although it didn't look as hopeless to them. Dire Wolves are still in that game.
Yeah, and then they lost their minds at Baron. I was like,
in a bit.
Yeah, I don't know how often KaBuM has people try to do that. And I guess that's kind of the wrench you want to throw in, but that was the moment where I really went, Dire Wolves is KaBuM.
Well, before that, though, they also still got a Dragon and they were still in the game. I do want to take a look at that Drake fight for the Dire Wolves, as not all was lost, right? This is where they set up a wonderful team fight, even though KaBuM gets a Dragon.
Yeah, excellent setup here. Alistar headbutt combo into the Ornn ulti. A lot of that allows for, obviously, the Yasuo to come in. This is what their composition is made for. Obviously, they lose the Infernal Dragon because of it, but this is kind of tracking back what they wanted to do initially. So, like, sure, they get the team fight a little bit too late, but you can finally see what they wanted to do with the comp.
And Zyrene, this is your cue. KaBuM, they catch Dire Wolves out at Baron, brought to you by Acer Predator. This is where the Dire Wolves lose their mind.
Why? Why did they do this? Like, They don't even clear vision, because you could clear vision, stand on that pink ward, bait them to face check you, and that's just better because the Jhin wouldn't even be in range. Now they get to approach, they get to sit around here, wait for Jhin to catch up, then they get to pick the fight, and Zantins has the setup for a fantastic 5-man. I want to drink with Zantins because he brings the keg for everyone.
That's cool. You know what? That's fair enough. I just like the fact that you're right about it. You have Alistar, you have Ornn, you have enough tanks, especially with the Skarner. One of them can just sit out of the Baron pit.
Yeah.
Just force a fight. That's a setup that they can go towards because they're not going to be the ones burning it that quickly.
Yeah, and I think even just having Alistar, who sets up the Yasuo to pop out of the pit immediately, would be one of the more optimal ways to do it. But like, they didn't even clear the vision, which I thought was the oversight.
Yeah. Well, and this is where I actually wanted to come back to, in my mind, where the Dire Wolves were a bit overzealous. That blind pick Yasuo, okay, but then the moment where they do have a bit of balance in the game, they go for the most risky Baron you could ever try to go for. And this is why, for me, it clicked that I think they have to take a step back if they want to continue in this group. All chances are still open. They're going to have to beat Supermassive. But to me, as a whole, they felt overzealous. And on the other side, we have to praise KaBuM. They went from strength to strength. They had a great game on all their carriers, which is going to give them a confidence boost. And you were talking about Zantins before the game. At 30 minutes, KaBuM had an 8K gold lead. Ooh. 5K of that was on Gangplank. So Zantins was like, thank you.
Yeah, his damage was probably insane as well. Like, he was hitting multiple barrels in team fights. His GP ultimates were deciding a lot of those early fights. Yeah. We're not making them as bad for KaBuM because they got out with like 1 or 2 deaths sometimes when it could have actually just been a complete rollover.
My favorite part, it felt like every single fight when they had the graph underneath showcasing the damage, it was literally just Gangplank damage off the charts. I was like, wait a minute, I don't even want to see how much damage he did at the end of the game because he was on point. The Baron fight specifically, which really clued in for me, it was the second barrel that he was able to land. They were getting 3 people off of that. So Zantins on the GP, he finally gets the carry pick up against the Ornn, and he showcases that he can work it.
He was a demon in one of your favorite words, Zantins was. Well, let's take a look at the standings. What do they look like now after KaBuM manages to beat out the Dire Wolves? So this basically means that both the Dire Wolves and KaBuM have to beat Supermassive and Pentagram. They all have to win all their matches, and really Supermassive is really even growing more as the team to beat, and they look like they will be a very difficult team to beat, which makes this day very interesting.
Zyrene, do you think they can do it? I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah, well, what is this? You have to answer as well.
Okay, fine. You first, though.
But ask the question one more time.
Okay, do you think Superman,
were you not listening?
Okay.
No, I wanted to get exactly the question so I can answer it.
Yeah, okay, excellent. Do you think that Dire Wolves can come back from this? Mostly because it obviously just means that both KaBuM and Dire Wolves have to take them down, and it feels like a very easy path for Supermassive, especially with how, I wouldn't say cleanly, but later on in the game it felt pretty clean.
Well, he answered his own question.
I was like,
I did, but now you got to answer.
Wow.
You tricked me into it. You tricked me into it. Now you got to answer. Now you got to answer.
I think the Dire Wolves can go 2-0.
Yeah.
I don't know if KaBuM is going to go 2-0 for the rest of their games here. I also don't know what Pentagram's going to do because they actually made Supermassive kind of flail. So I think, like you talked about the day being wide open, I think it's a lot more wide open than I had initially
KaBuM is playing Pentagram right now. So with that in mind, the fact that they just can keep going from strength to strength with this confidence, does that change their chances?
Ooh, yes. I would say with KaBuM, the fact that they can now start playing through their original plan, as we were mentioning at the beginning of the day, that changes it entirely. So Zantins already showcased what he can do on the GP. I want to see what he can do with the Jace. He already got banned in day 1 for him. So this opens up a lot of the pool and a lot of the strategy that they can play now.
Well, let's see if KaBuM can go from strength to strength. They will take on Pentagram after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Pretty champion if they would like the Cassiopeia. Oh, Yasuo!
Oh, yes! Yasuo locked in. To be a tough one here. There's the Ragnarok pop. King's going to be the target. They are going to take him down. LeBlanc just blows him up. And now Cupcake finds cheats on, but triple not a wrench to ulti. It's a disaster. Shernfire pop Predator gets a cancelled hook. Also going to land in. The Drake goes over to KaBuM. But here's a big Olaf. They're going to try to make it happen. A 3-man knocker. The last breath from Yasuo. Shernfire, they need to protect their jungle. Oh, the Baron is going to be forfeit. But a massive 4-man play from Riyev. dyNquedo takes down the Skarner. Ranger will fall.
For the Jhin, and they knew it, and they try and collapse on him, and it works. works. They get the kills. Pushing forward, still risky.
Oh, Cupcake, they find it! They get the snap at Zantins! Massive Gangplank play, but they're gonna cover fire here with the Jhin ult. Ragnarok again in the back, King just gets slapped out immediately. Triple in the backside, trying to make it happen onto Jhin. He wants to make a few more plays. Cupcake with a good pulverize, but Ranger takes down Shern. Dire Wolves in this next game here. The second encounter was much better for them than the last, and they will keep themselves alive here at MSI Play-In.
Predator, proud partner and official monitor provider.